And thank you, Tom, and everybody else who's on the webinar today. It's really a pleasure to be here and share with you our journey in Cleveland. Next slide. Yeah. So what I'm going to talk about today is just one of the ways that we use data for meaningful family engagement. And as many of you know, Cleveland is one of the poor cities in our nation. We have a very high rate of childhood poverty. But we've been able to, in the last 10 years under the Cleveland Plan, make some significant gains in our graduation rate, which is about 78.2 right now, which has been a 26% increase over the last 9 years. And also our third grade literacy rates, our attendance rates have dropped significantly or increased significantly, and we've seen a drop in chronic absenteeism. And while we can't say that family engagement is the cause of all those things, we know that there is a correlation between meaningful and authentic engagement to improving outcomes for students. Next slide, Tom. So the opportunity that I want to talk about is that, and I think all of you believe this as well, is that every parent, every caregiver, our families want the best for their children. I have yet to meet a parent out of the 26,000 or so in our district that does not want positive outcomes for their children. And it's our job as educators and school districts to really think about how we can collaborate and partner with our families and look at their strengths instead of their deficits. So we really have a strength-based approach. Parents do have the capacity to support their children regardless of their immigration status, SEL status, or educational level, because again, parents do want the best for their children. And despite some popular beliefs that families who are in poverty don't value education, what we've seen here is that the more we do to authentically engage our families and create partnerships, the more welcome they feel and more respected they feel, and the more willing they are to come into our schools and participate in the partnerships that are established. And that parents are their child's first teachers and experts on their children. We always want to acknowledge that parents have these funds of knowledge about how their children learn best, what motivates them, what are some of their struggles, and tell us and help us. They share their stories, so we have a better understanding of what types of outreach we can provide and supports that we can put in place. Next slide. Dr. Karen Mapp has done a lot of work talking about family engagement, and I think many of you are aware of the dual capacity framework. There was a version 2 of it that came out this year, and I did not put that into the slide deck. But I think when we talk about meaningful engagement, one of the things that we do in our district is a lot of surveys. You know, we actually have tools and resources available to our schools, which are on an Insight webpage, as well as OneDrive folders, and we use Microsoft Teams, where we build these toolkits of templates and surveys and vendors and workshop providers. And we always want to encourage our schools to actually survey parents and families to find out, what is it? How can we better engage you? What types of workshops or activities do you want to come to? What's the best way to communicate with you? But we really have to think about the elements of effective engagement once we do find out from parents and families what their interests are, and make sure that we are relational, that we are building those relationships, because we can put into place all of the best programs in the universe and activities. But if we haven't established relationships with our families and built trust with them, then they're not going to come. That they're collaborative, that many of our families are actually involved in our schools on the family engagement committees. As part of our district level family engagement policy, our schools are mandated to have a family engagement committee, and very similar to the NNPS model, these committees are responsible for developing programs, activities, and strategies in their schools to engage families. So that collaborative practice is very important when we think about this work. That there is that link to learning. I often say we got to move away from the, I don't want to say necessarily the the bake sales and things like that, because those things are important to build a school culture and to get families into the door. The father-daughter dances, the muffins for moms and the donuts for dads. Yes, we want to bring our families in and have those types of activities to, again, get them through the door. But we have to move it to another level when we think about activities that are linked to learning, and that our families are engaged in activities which educators plan that really look at what students are learning, look at the instructional core, instructional practices and strategies, and helping our families learn what assessments are being given, and that our engagement activities are linked to learning and data driven, that they're interactive. A lot of times when we bring in families for activities, it's a sit and get. And we forget that our parents are actually adults, and there are principles of adult learning in terms of making them interactive, providing opportunities for feedback and small group activities, and then that they're relevant. We've done a lot of activities around the college going process in our district. We were recently, about a year ago, named a Say Yes City, where we now have family support specialists in our buildings, and we'll have a family support specialist in all of our 105 buildings by the end of 2014. But we talk about this college going culture. One of the things that many of our schools in our district has become acclaimed for is actually having family college tours, so that, when we think about what's relevant to families, a lot of our families do want to provide that opportunity for their students to go to college, but sometimes it's something that they themselves don't know how to do. So we really want to make our practices relevant to our families as well as our scholars. Next slide, please. So in our district, we have what we call our academic achievement plans. And when we talk about the work of compliance, we know that all of our schools in Cleveland qualify for Title I. So each one of them gets an allocation for family engagement, and there are those compliance pieces. What we developed several years ago was actually looking at our academic achievement plan and thinking about, how do we connect all the dots? Well, one of the ways that you connect all the dots between attendance and SEL and family engagement and student achievement and working with ELL families and special ed families is through this academic achievement plan, which is like the CCIP, the Continuous Improvement Plan. Within our academic achievement plans, we actually do integrate all of those different aspects. We really do make an effort to connect all the dots. So for all the schools are required to do this academic achievement plan annually. And within the academic achievement plan, they have to look at their data for social emotional learning. They have to look at their data for attendance, parent engagement. We have to look at our subgroups in terms of ELL students, students who are receiving intervention, special ed, and the schools have to develop academic priorities. Here you just see an example of an academic priority for math proficiency, and this talks about what the teachers will do in terms of instructional practice in the classroom, and then how they're going to measure it, what type of evidence they're going to present, how they're going to collect data. And then what we did was we actually, for every priority, connected it to a family engagement strategy. So Tom, if you can go to the next page. Next slide, Tom. What we have to do in our academic achievement plans is that schools have to really think about, okay, we have this strategy where we are going to be looking specifically at math and raising our achievement in math. But how are we going to partner with our families to do that? What type of evidence-based practices will we be using to engage with our parents around math and increasing math proficiency? So within all of our academic achievement plans, from K to 12, our elementary schools as well as our high schools, for every priority that they identify, they have to create a family engagement strategy. And for the math example that was just seen in the prior slide, this is what they decided to do to engage their parents of their K-3 families, which was a subgroup that they were having achievement problems with. We, in our district, adopted the academic parent teacher team model, and we still have it in several of our schools, where this is a model where teachers actually look at their data, identify foundational skills that the students are lacking in, and then they present a workshop for parents where they review the data, they show their students where they are at, where they should be, and then they provide an activity. They actually do a gradual release strategy with the families where they demonstrate an activity that that they can do at home with their students, and then they do it with the parents, and then the parents practice with each other. So this is how we embed family engagement into our improvement plans for our schools. And it's been a very effective strategy, and our schools really are very thoughtful about this. What we do also is every quarter our schools come together and they have to review their academic achievement plans and review their data. And we have a consultancy where the principals and members of their academic teams and sometimes parents will look and say, okay, well, this isn't working in terms of our parents aren't showing up for this. So what else can we do to get those parents in the door? So in addition to having these plans, they don't just sit on a shelf somewhere and collect dust. They are reviewed quarterly, and then adjustments are made in terms of instructional strategies as well as family engagement strategies. Next slide. The other thing is, again, because all of our schools receive Title I funds for family engagement, we know that there are some compliance with that. So what we've done in Cleveland is really be thoughtful about, as we're planning for our school-based family engagement, helping them to understand how to make that connection. Again, referring back to their academic achievement plans to drive what that Title I family engagement is going to look like. So this is just a template that we've developed for school teams to use to actually get them to be thoughtful about what they're doing when they are engaging families. They have to actually complete this Title I action plan and submit it in our procurement system so that they can utilize those funds. And that way, when we do go through an audit process, we actually have all of the documentation for how those expenditures are made in our procurement system. So you can see that there's a place for all the team members, again, referring back to that academic achievement plan. What are the priorities that they're addressing? The identified area of the activity, whether it's in the instructional core, career college readiness, attendance, social emotional learning, or building family capacity, again, connecting all those dots together. We do use a tiered approach when we're talking about family engagement in our district, because one of the things that we want to get them to do is move away from, the universal strategies. Oh, we're going to have a literacy night and invite all the families from pre-K to 8 to come in, to really thinking about doing more targeted activities. So when we think about the third grade guarantee, instead of perhaps having a whole school literacy night, to do maybe one that's focused on the third grade guarantee and bringing in K-3 families, again, to demonstrate to them strategies that they can use at home to support literacy development, reviewing data with the parents. And then we also use intensive interventions, and we might do this for students who are chronically absent. But this is our way of making sure that when our school teams are planning, that they're being thoughtful about linking their family engagement back to their academic achievement plans, and also thinking about those elements of it being relational and relevant and linked to learning and collaborative. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we also do in our district, this is just some examples of programs and activities that I've pulled off of some of our Title I action plans, like a monthly third grade guarantee meeting with parents of students who are on REMPs. Again, if we want those students to move, we really need to be thinking about the interventions that are in place for those students and sharing data with the families, as well as strategies for what they can do at home. Class meetings, I've seen this with many of our middle school teachers, where they are having class meetings and sharing data with parents and caregivers, and thinking about activities that parents can do to support skill development. In our high schools, what we see a lot of is with the changing graduation requirements, that schools are having cohort meetings for their high school parents, so that we're thinking about freshman parents need different information than senior parents. Sophomore parents need different things than freshman parents, and these meetings are used to discuss their progress towards graduation. Again, because we are a Say Yes city, all of our students are eligible for scholarships if they attend high school in from 9th to 12th grade in Cleveland. So we really have a strong push for all of our seniors to complete college applications and FAFSA informate and getting their FAFSAs completing, even if they're not planning on going to college, but to just have them go through that process as a plan B. Grade band, math, and literacy meetings and nights, again, thinking about how are schools looking at their data from their assessments and targeting specific grade bands and skills when they're having these meetings so that they are more meaningful for parents. And then again, thinking about SEL strategies, social emotional learning, working with parents on anti-bullying workshops and other strategies for supporting SEL. Again, what we do again, and I'm going to talk, I see a lot of questions about parent-teacher conferences, and I'll get to that in a second, as well as data regarding timing. And we do survey our parents about times that are best for them. And we offer conferences during the day and the evening. But what we do is we've developed a data dashboard that I'm going to share with you next. This is actually the form, and I couldn't get a good snapshot of it. But basically what we do is once we get the data and attendance sheets and agendas and the evaluations, I ask that whenever we have a program that there is an evaluation at the end of that program, so we can find out from our parents if they found it beneficial, but also to get their ideas about other things that we might be able to do to engage them. My staff, I have the Family Engagement Office. We are blessed to actually have a department for family and community engagement in Cleveland. I have 2 managers, a director, and then we have 5 FACE coordinators who work with those family engagement teams. They are responsible for collecting all of the evaluations and Title I action plans and agendas and sign-in sheets, and then entering that data into, we've created a dashboard in SharePoint. And what they do is they enter that data, and these are the things that are on that form. So we look at what network the school is in, we look at what school, we look at the program or activity name. We're collecting data about grade bands, the tiers, is it a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 3? Family engagement strategy, what is the focus? Is it literacy? Is it career and college readiness? Is it SEL? Is it math? And then the date, and then the number of attendees as well. And then if Tom, you'll go to the next slide. We have this family engagement dashboard. In our district, we use a lot of data to drive decisions about instruction, about our attendance campaign, which is won national recognition for reducing chronic absenteeism. So all these dashboards sit in what we call our dashboard center. This is one of our 2 family engagement dashboards. We have one for parent-teacher conferences, where we're monitoring our parent-teacher conference rates. All of our teachers enter their parent-teacher conference into our student information system, so it is quantifiable. We are able to actually track what parents are attending conferences and which ones are not, so we can provide additional outreach. And for the last 5 years, actually, our district has achieved a parent-teacher conference rate of 90% or better. Which I think in a large urban district speaks volumes about the work that we're doing here to really reach out to our parents and partner with them. But this particular family engagement dashboard is from that form, and this is data that we collect to look at the focus areas. We want to see what our schools are focusing on in terms of their family engagement. We also are able to look at this dashboard by school and see when parents are attending. So you'll see in the lower right-hand corner, the days of the week and the average attendance. And this helps our schools to actually look at what are the best days, what are the best times. We're also tracking in our district. Our goal is to decrease our tier 1 universal strategies and really ramp up our tier 2 and tier 3 strategies. So again, we are using data to drive the type of engagement that we're doing with our families, and make sure that we're, for those families and students who are getting intervention, really being thoughtful about how are we engaging those families to move those students. Again, this is a dashboard that we developed just again to help us look at the focus areas, and we can also use this data to make sure that our schools are doing what they said in their academic achievement plans to engage their families around their priorities. Next slide, Tom. So, we know there, and I could go on, I have a lot of things that I would like to say, but again, just demonstrating how we collect data and use it to inform our practice at the district level. We know that there are challenges to engagement. While we have made a lot of gains in Cleveland, we still have a long way to go. We have turnover in terms of teachers and principals, so sometimes it feels like I'm starting over every year, but I'm very motivated to continue to do this work. The challenges are, again, that teachers have few opportunities to learn about and experience with strategies and tools for engagement. So in our district, we do provide professional development to our principals as well as our teachers in best practices for engagement. Again, engagement conditions, a lot of our districts are really looking at raising achievement, and some don't align their values and beliefs around family engagement to support student achievement. So I just want to encourage everyone out there who's doing this work to keep it moving, make your voice heard, share the research, share best practices so that it does become embedded and integrated like it is in Cleveland. And it is challenging work, but the rewards, again, are great. We've seen improvements in our graduation rates and our literacy rates, our attendance rates, because of how we've integrated family engagement into all of that work and really having a holistic approach to educating our scholars here in Cleveland. And I'd like to thank you for your time and am open to any questions.